I'm your host, Mark Rogers, and you're listening to Keeping It Real with Greg Zastrow. How we doing, bud?
I'm awesome. How are you today?
Dude, best day of my life.
Really?
I mean, we had a great dinner last night.
We did. A shout out to the staff at Nobu. That was amazing.
Off the charts.
Service was amazing. I'm just gonna keep it real with you on this subject. I can't use chopsticks. I
learned that about you. That was something new about you.
I'm 56 years old.
Yep.
I have tried on multiple occasions to use chopsticks. I cannot use them. I have no idea.
I saw that.
And finally, the young lady, had mercy and brought me the chopsticks that had like that squishy thing between them.
Yeah,
so
for
I had
little kids.
Yeah, for kids, right?
Yeah, I just figured not a lot of sushi places in Wisconsin.
There isn't. I mean, it's not Scottsdale, right?
Yeah.
We eat a little differently in Wisconsin than you folks do here in the desert. You have to specifically ask for bread, if you want it as part of the overall dining experience here.
Right.
We usually start with a loaf of that, in Wisconsin, before the main course comes.
And cheese.
And cheese, of course. But again, a shout out to those folks there last night. That was amazing.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Is Wisconsin still today like the industry, like leading the amount of cheese produced? Is that still like?
Well, I live in Plymouth, Wisconsin, right?
Yep.
We moved there about 10 years ago. It's where my wife had grown up. But yeah, Plymouth, Wisconsin is called the dairy capital of the world, or the cheese capital of the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
The brats aren't bad either.
Well, Johnsonville is just down the road. So the village of Johnsonville is still, separate. You'd never confuse Johnsonville and Plymouth. But you've got Johnsonville brats. One of my favorites, Miesvelt's.
Dude, that place.
I
you
brought
could do
you to
some
Miesvelt's
damage
Market.
in that place.
So we had a rule about Miesvelt's markets. We'd go there on Saturday mornings, right? And I was not allowed to have a push cart. Lynn allowed me to have the little red basket that you carried, with the handles.
And that's what you got to fill
And
up.
whatever I could put in there was fine, but nothing more other than what I could put in that little carry basket. Now they've expanded and it's just
amazing.
Yeah. You don't go there if you're watching, what you eat, because it's so delicious.
I think you and I spent a solid hour or so in there.
And I don't think we get out of there for less than $500, if we're hosting something or an event, or we've got some advisors coming in.
That was such a good trip.
It was the
Green
Packer
Bay,
game.
Packer game, clients in.
Well, you've got it all, right?
Freezing cold.
You've got the cold temperatures.
We just checked everything
You've got the
off.
snowstorm, right?
Yeah,
You've
we
got
had
the
the
Packers.
snowstorm.
You've got the bratwurst. It's all there.
So I'm really excited about today's conversation because if you looked up in the dictionary a picture of life insurance and life insurance salesman, I think your picture would be there. You certainly have written your fair share of policies, but this is one of those conversations with people for whatever reason, when you're at a party or you watch Groundhog Day and the annoying guy was the life insurance guy. Like, come on.
Ned.
Ned.
Yeah, I'm Ned.
You are Ned.
I am.
So when you're walking down you're walking down
the street.
The street, like people just stay out of your way,
You know what? I don't know. I guess I don't notice. But I first of all, I appreciate that compliment. Life insurance is something I've always been passionate about.
But it's one of those difficult things to have a conversation about, right? People,
I guess
they don't understand it. They don't want to think. That's something that they tend to lay away, and that's one on the to-do list.
Yep, because people don't, and I think there's multiple reasons for that, Mark. I'll be honest with you. To me, it's that's so foreign, right? Why would anyone not want to talk about the possibility of dying unexpectedly? I mean, we had a joke when I was at MetLife. We spent millions of dollars in research, and we found one thing that was really critical, and that is everybody dies. It doesn't matter who you are, right? You're going to die. The only question is when. The end of life, for many of us is not a choice. It's a destiny, right? We don't get to choose the manner, in which that occurs. But yet we all know it's going to happen. Life insurance is just a critical part of that. And it's not just the product itself, it's the discussion, right? We've talked about that. I wrote about that in the book. It's the discussion. It's the conversation you have with the people you love about what you want to see happen. And more importantly, it's the questions you ask about what they want to have happen, right? if something unexpected, occurs. So yeah, it is foreign. To me, it's not. It never has been.
And I think also the evolution of what these life insurance companies have really they've evolved with the needs of investors and clients too, right? The life insurance of old is policies are not the same as they are today with all the flexibility and riders and some of this stuff, right?
Right. It's and as you know, I have a special relationship with National Life Group, and they have a motto as it relates to their policies, and it's whether you die too soon or whether you live too long. Talking about the guaranteed income option, or you get sick. If any one of these three things happen, we know one of them's gonna, right. I mean, we're all gonna die, but we don't know how that's gonna evolve. Regardless of what your circumstances are, there's something that could protect you, and more importantly, the ones you love, if that occurs. So there's been an absolute evolution in product. There's no question. From the being able to utilize your death benefit, in different ways, what they call living benefits, along with the cash value that you accumulate. So it's not your grandfather's life insurance company anymore.
So that actually brings up a good point of how do you know if you have a new product versus an old product? When should you be looking at that? How often? How does somebody figure that out?
So I have always believed, and having done this for 33 years, you've seen how products respond in, challenging interest rate environments. You see how they respond in very high interest rate environments. But, that's constantly an evolution. People always talk about, the illustration, right? Well, this is what I bought. Well, that's what you bought at the time. And the illustration is never how it's going to work. It just tells you if all of these things come together, this is what it could look like, is basically, what that is. I think a person should look at their policy, have it audited every 3 years. Request an in-force illustration. Have your agent or your financial advisor request an in-force illustration, because interest rates change, costs, internal expenses, change, product offerings change, right? What you bought 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, okay, I promise there's a lot more options available to you today than there was then. You want to know what those are. So usually every 3 years at most, I recommend having an in-force illustration and what we call an audit, a simple audit done, just to make sure your policy is going to do what you thought it was going to do, and to make sure you're maximizing every benefit that particular company offers.
So in my mind, when I think about life insurance, you put money into a policy and you create an immediate estate, and it's really there for my legacy, not really there for me. And so if you think about it in that sense, like, how do you walk through somebody about how it can actually be a great tool for retirement? Because you don't think about life insurance and retirement together. How does that all work?
So there's one thing that's always present when someone is interested in, life insurance. There's one component that needs to be there, and that's simple. That's love. You either love someone else, right? We typically think of a spouse, right? Husband, wife, partner. We think of children. In my case, and don't get me wrong, I have 4 kids. I love them all dearly, but I'm thinking about the 6 grandchildren, often, that I have. It's about loving something else. And then, or, with all the benefits that it has today, loving your particular self and where you want that policy or what you want those funds to be for you later. Life insurance in its traditional concept is about protecting someone else. That will always be the primary function of life insurance, right? It's the only tool we have whereby, through a stroke of a pen, right, and cutting a check, we can protect, everyone and everything that we love and care about in this world from something unexpected happening. The premium is not the problem. The premium is the solution to the problem, right? But now with living benefits, we have the ability to generate and take advantage of the tax, laws that currently exist, right? To leverage tax-free income, off of our life insurance policies. It's next to a Roth IRA. It's really the only thing we could do that with. But obviously, utilizing life insurance, provides additional benefits that a traditional Roth investment would not offer. I think, and when you think of it in those terms, Mark, how does someone not have that, right? So, my wife passes away 6 years ago, right? And I obviously being
Has it been 6 years already?
Yeah, it's coming up on six years in 2 weeks. obviously, being in this business, I acquired, a fair amount of life insurance over the years, right? The life insurance now has a different meaning to me, but it's no less important to me because of my love of children, my love of grandchildren. I want to see their future, right, be enhanced by, by what life insurance, can do, especially on a tax-free basis. So the priority has shifted, right, because my life has shifted. But the purpose, right, is still there, right? So there's still a value. I get this a lot too, and I know you have. I don't need life insurance at my age, right? Whether I'm retired now or I'm up to 70, well, I don't need life insurance at age 56, right? I die tomorrow, there's going to be no one that's going to be out financially, all right, due to my lost income or my not being here. Life insurance may not be a need, but it should be a want. And if you have a product that provides tax-deferred growth, potentially tax-free income if done correctly, you have a death benefit that you can use to transfer wealth or use to help pay your bill if you're sick, why would that be a product or a piece that not all of us would want to have a little bit of? And again, you could probably hear the inflection in my voice change because I do get so passionate about this. It's a lack of understanding. People don't understand what the products today do, and that's our fault. Shame on us.
Yeah, there seems like a lack of education, right?
Listen, and again, I get it. It's not a popular topic. We don't get, hey, sweetheart, I got a $100 bottle of wine. Let's have a picnic tonight and let's talk about us dying, right? No one does that. I get it. But it's a lack of understanding of what the product does, right? First and foremost, I think that is the biggest reason, why people don't have it. And I think the other, big reason why people don't have it is it's not important enough. We don't value it as important because we don't understand it. Right. One of the most fascinating statistics, right? And you and I look at that quite a bit, is the fact that we're going to live 8 years longer than our parents, right? Generationally, statistics are showing, at least for us, that we're going to live 8 years longer than mom and dad, but we're not those last 8 years. I'm 56. I have a pill bottle on the kitchen counter. So when I have my coffee in the morning, I pour a glass of milk and I take my medication. Right. My grandparents who were retired, they didn't have as many pills on their kitchen counter as I do, right? They didn't have, all of these chronic conditions. And that leads to the statistic, in 15 years, right? If you're age 65, 40% of our country is going to suffer from 6 chronic conditions at the same time. 6. So we've done a great job, medicine-wise, has done a great job of extending, the course of our life. We really haven't, I don't know, extended the quality of that life. But that's going to create an immense financial burden on individuals, on communities, right? On us as a country. If we're living longer, but we're not living healthier, right? We're getting sicker. That requires more care. These are important things we need to be talking about. We need to be talking about the solutions to that.
So if our listeners are at home and they are needing to have this conversation, I always like to say you got to take action.
Right.
And I know that you offer several things like doing an audit with people. We talked about getting every 6-month update, kind of check in, making sure that people are on track with what they have, or at least understanding what they have. And you do a lot of education with people. If people that are listening and subscribing here want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
The main office number, 920-377-6655. People ask me all the time, how do we have this conversation? Right? You know as well as I do that these conversations not only are important from a practical financial standpoint, but they're also very important, to the relationship, right? And if we love someone, we care about someone, we owe that conversation, right? That should just be a natural process.
Well, and again, I think what I love about you is that, you know how quickly things change.
Yeah.
And they do, right?
In the blink of an eye.
Blink of an eye.
Right.
So it's being able to take action now, get those things in place so that you don't have to worry about it. They're there. Somebody's there to help you. And the value of that is massive. This has been Keeping It Real with Greg Zastrow. Greg, thank you so much for the conversation today. I'm looking forward to the next episode. So should you. So definitely like, subscribe, share this with those that you love, and have this conversation with us. We're excited in working with you and helping you. Please reach out to Greg to set up a time for a one-on-one I look forward to our next show, buddy.
As do I. Always a pleasure, Mark.